A lot of bands think this. Oh, we signed to a record contract. We're going to make millions now. No, it usually takes a lot of hard work that goes along with it. And it's not overnight success as well. Some bands build up their reputation for years and years and years. And sometimes it even comes to the point where they might even be dropped by the label and they're given one more shot at recording a great album. Here are some of the bands that almost lost their opportunity. I'm Jesse Prue, and here are the best make or break albums. Usually when a live album is released, it usually doesn't surpass the sales of studio albums. But you know what? There's an exception with Kiss, because Kiss were actually good live. They released 3 albums: Kiss, Hotter Than Hell, Dressed to Kill, and you can tell how poor they were because on Dressed to Kill they wore their manager's suits. Kiss have been known for their stage show, fire breathing, exploding guitars, drum risers, and just over-the-top theatrics. It came to the conclusion that they would do a live album. It would make perfect sense. And also, as well, because they had no more money for a studio album. Not to mention their record label, Casablanca, were about to go bankrupt, and Casablanca and Kiss needed a breakthrough album. A live would be that perfect album to catapult them into the stratosphere. It peaked at number 9 in the US and stayed on the charts for almost 2 years for radios, comic books, pinball machines, comic dolls. Well, you get the idea. So what happens when you combine opera, rock, and Freddie Mercury? Well, you get Queen. They had released 3 albums: Queen, Queen 2, no, it does not have Bohemian Rhapsody on it, and Sheer Heart Attack. Pushing the boundaries of even the recording studio, Queen had a hit single with Killer Queen, but there was a problem, and you guessed it. Even management were telling drummer Roger Taylor to stop breaking drumsticks because they couldn't afford them. That's crazy. When it came to record a new album, they want to be as free-spirited as possible, making one of the most expensive records ever, which is probably the equivalent of buying 6 homes. And it was well over a cool $1 million when they didn't even have $1 million. When it came to choosing the single, they wanted Bohemian Rhapsody to be the song on radio, and the record company were a bit hesitant, mostly because it was too long to play on radio. But it wasn't until Kenny Everett, who was a radio announcer, stole a copy before the release and played it on his radio show, being played 14 times over the weekend. 14 times! Bohemian Rhapsody launched the album A Night at the Opera into the top 10, and you would say it's Magnifico! Yeah, I probably shouldn't be a member of Queen. Rush. Pretty much Canada's golden goose. But they didn't start off with instant fame. They had a moderate success with their first 2 albums, which was Rush and Fly By Night. But eventually, when they released their 3rd record, Caress of Steel, in 1975, it was a big disappointment compared to the other records. And when you have a song called I Think I'm Going Bald, I think you know what to expect. And also the roadies, when they went on tour for this new album, they were calling it the Down the Tubes Tour, because Rush was in some financial trouble due to the disappointing sales of Caress of Steel. So when they went in to go and record a new album, they told the record company, yes, we will do shorter songs. Yes, we will sound like Bad Company. Well, they did the complete opposite. They made 2112, with the centerpiece being 20 minutes long. That's like ordering spaghetti and then getting steak instead. This is not what I ordered! The album sold faster than any of their previous Rush albums up to that point. And almost 2 months after the release, they had sold 200,000 copies of the album, which is very good. And also as well, who can forget that legendary band photo on the back cover? I'm gonna be completely honest. It was probably the kimonos. Just saying. So what happens when you get a patient from a mental hospital, 2 pretty boys who should be on the front of a fashion magazine, and their accountant from Illinois? Well, you get Cheap Trick. They had released 3 albums: Cheap Trick, In Color, Heaven Tonight. They had a minor hit with Surrender, which would be one of their greatest songs. They didn't get much great success in the States, but Cheap Trick were becoming very popular in Japan? All 3 of their studio albums had went gold in Japan, and it would just make sense that they would go over and play Budokan. Well, when they arrived, they were treated to hysteria like the Beatles had arrived or the Queen had arrived. They played to 12 30,000 screaming Japanese schoolgirls, even being louder than the band sometimes. The album was intended just to be released in Japan, but due to strong airplay and nearly 30,000 imported copies being sold in the United States, it was officially released in February 1979, hitting number 4 in the States and jump-starting their career. You know what? It was probably all of the screaming Japanese girls. Asbury Park is one of New York's biggest touring attractions. Well, in 1973, there was another big attraction that was happening in Asbury Park, Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band, captivating audiences with their larger-than-life performances. Springsteen released his first record, Greens from Asbury Park, which sounds like kind of an electric Bob Dylan. It sold poorly. And then later in the year, they released the second album, The Wild, the Innocent, and the E Street Shuffle, which was too strange and the songs were too long for radio. There were many rumors that Springsteen was going to be dropped by his label. The album would be Born to Run, and it would take 14 months to record, with 6 months spent on just one song alone, Born to Run. Born to Run was released and proved to be the breakthrough album for Springsteen. What an amazing album. And you know what? He would have a couple more hits along the way as well. Did you like the video? Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe, and make sure you leave some video ideas down below.